see that hill? There's a hill. There's a hill that starts right there.
Yeah.
And there's just a little neck of swamp here.
Yeah.
And that back in there they call the cat dens. It's all a big bedding area. And there's a real heavy trail that comes between here. So the deer are gonna come up out of those, what we call the cat dens, and make their way up on top to those food plots and fields.
The first morning, I guess Rick takes us out and he puts us in a spot there, and we kind of sat there until about 10 o'clock, I guess, because he didn't want to come in and bump the deer.
We're set up on top of this hill for our first morning hunt. We got deer coming off the food plot a few hundred yards in that direction. They should work through this bottom back into their bedding area. And then we also have pretty heavy hunting pressure off this way. We're hoping that they'll also push some deer back into the same bedding area. This is basically a spot where the deer are gonna come from everywhere.
We sat there the rest of the day. We had some deer coming in and everything, but we didn't see what we really wanted to see. Some does and things like that.
The first day of hunting, we had Bob on the north end of one of our properties. In the morning, we like to stay away from what we call our honey holes. We don't want to bump our deer on the way in, so we had him up on one of the hills, and I think we had him a little bit too close to some of the neighbors there.
Somebody shot right there twice. Real close.
We put out a couple trail cam pictures because there was a couple different spots that we thought we might hunt if we had to. And you know, when we pulled those cards, what they call the picket fence, he's on both cards.
You know, they're gonna come all over from every direction down in here though, but all those pictures I showed you are all taken right here.
Based on what we were getting on film over the last couple of days of trail cam pictures, the buck that seemed to be most consistent seemed to be that picket fence buck. We put Bob in down by what we call the cat dens. You know, there's an area in there where the big ones are laying on some secluded hills, hoping that we would get him coming out of there opening night.
I'm excited about the next stand. Hopefully we seen 6 does down there.
It looked good. It had a big hemlock and cedar swamp down there. You could see back in there. The deer I felt pretty comfortable with those deer coming out of there. They jumped back in there again, so I felt pretty comfortable about going in there.
I think we're going to stick with that spot. We're going to concentrate on that spot. You know, seeing that we do have him on film, and we actually did see him. You know, I saw him out on the fringes. Glassed him during the daytime, so we knew he was there, and ended up back in where we wanted him to be.
What I was encouraged about is I knew people would get up and start walking. They'd be leaving, they're going back to their camps and things like that, which was going to get the deer up and moving again. Well, a lot of people, you know, they get their method of hunting. They rattle and they grunt and they do this. I'm a sitter. I count on other people making mistakes or just letting the deer come into their natural habitat.
Bob got in there and sat the entire day. We knew he was still there and figured we better stick with him.
Around 11:30, 12 o'clock, we had some more deer come in. And all of a sudden, and you just had that feeling something's going to happen. We're sitting there, and 3 o'clock, we had some big old mature does, and they were feeding through, and they left, and there was nothing between 3 and 4 o'clock. And all of a sudden, at 4 o'clock, I looked up and back in that cedar swamp, and I could see a buck coming. I threw the glasses up. That's the picket fence. And boy, I mean, you know, I've shot a lot of deer, but I tell you what, the old heart starts racing. And when you start getting short of breath and you feel that heart, that's like a warning sign going off. What's your job? And I go, patience, grasshopper. Take some deep breath. Your job is to kill this animal as quick and humane as possible. I got the best rifle, the Winchester, the Model 70, which I love. I got the best ammo. And what does this deer do? He comes up through and he circles. Is he going to come in? He's a big buck being cautious. Then finally comes up in through there and he starts to feed. And he's like quartered at us, and we're waiting and waiting, and he's still quartered right, I mean, just almost straight at us.
starts to walk, we got too many trees in the way. All he's got to do is turn just a little bit one way or another. Look at that little shoulder in front of me right there.
And we waited and waited, and finally the other buck was going away, and I seen him turn, and I go, there were so many trees in there, I was a little bit worried if he did decide to walk, it was going to be a no-no. And all of a sudden he gave me a little more cheating on that, where that front shoulder is up through there. And now that's a poor archery shot, I guarantee it. Yeah, I wouldn't take that archery shot in a heartbeat. But there's nothing on this deer that's going to stop this 180 grain bullet.
There it is. There's the shoulder. Okay. Here we go. Here we go. I think he went down. Oh, he's down. He's down. All right. Oh, man. It's been a long day. That's a nice buck. Let's go take a look at this boy. Okay, here's a little tip. I loaded the gun inside the blind. I'm gonna load it back up because I'm gonna walk back up onto him, make sure he's down. Turn your scope all the way down so if he jumps up and starts to run, we can get onto him. You down, big guy? Look at that rack. Look at that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 points.
They called him the Picket Fence just because he's got so many points coming down through there. That is a fantastic buck right there. Here comes that buck going through, and now it's all of a sudden, again for me, I say, patience, grasshopper. I know it wasn't over 100 yards. I knew I could make the shot. I'm just waiting for the right angle. And he was at a bad angle for the archery shot, but not for 180 grain. No, and not with that Winchester ammo, that Model 70. All I knew I had to do was wait for that shoulder to come up through there. All of a sudden, here comes the shot. And I squeezed it, and man, I mean, wow. And you can just see the ripple going through him. I mean, and he just jumped and he went down, and it was pretty exciting. Well, when you put the combination like the Model 70 Winchester and the Winchester ammo, that buck didn't stand a chance. Oh, Wisconsin's been good to me. Not only is the deer hunting good, the people are fantastic. I come up here, I just have a blast. That's a beautiful deer. I guess if I was going to move any place besides Pennsylvania, it'd probably be Wisconsin, but I don't know, I like Pennsylvania pretty good, but I sure do like the people in Wisconsin.
Nice. Put in the mice. Good job. Nice.
It was a fantastic week in Wisconsin, and that's what it's about. It's about just having fun and laughing and joking and telling stories. It's not about the size of that deer. It's about the memories you made and the friends you made along the way.